Alright guys, today's goal, the learner will understand how to factor and solve polynomial equations. Now we've spent a lot of time factoring, but let's look. Definition: a factorable polynomial with integer coefficients is factored completely if it is written as the product of unfactorable polynomials with integer coefficients. Okay? So here's some examples. 2 times the quantity x plus 1 times the quantity x minus 4. 5x squared times the quantity x squared minus 3, because there's nothing that multiplies negative 3 and adds to 0. But see, this one is not completely factored because you can change that to x, so it should have been, the final answer would have been 3x times that. Okay? Here are some things you're going to need to know. So you're going to need to write these down, memorize these. The sum of two cubes, a cubed plus b cubed, equals the quantity a plus b times the quantity a squared minus ab plus b squared. And then the difference, meaning subtraction, a cubed minus b cubed, equals the quantity a minus b times the quantity a squared plus ab plus b squared. Okay? So here's the biggest thing you got to look at. See how in this example here they changed 64 to 4x? So the numbers, you have to take the cube root of it. Okay? So let's start working through some of these. So factor completely. This is not the sum or difference of two perfect cubes. So but I can factor out an x. And now what can multiply to negative 7 and add to 10? Because 10 times 1, so negative 5, negative 2. So x minus 5, x minus 2. Factored completely. Here now, not only can I factor out a variable, but I can factor out 3y to the third, not to the second, to the third, Mr. McGaw. And then you'd have y squared minus 25. Not done though, because that's the difference of two perfect squares, so that'd be y plus 5, y minus 5. So you guys are seeing how these are working. That's awesome. So let's move on. So go ahead and press pause and try these two. Alright, so I don't think I can factor out a number, but I can definitely factor out b squared. And I get 16b to the third plus 683. Okay? And that looks like maybe the sum of two perfect cubes, but it's not, so we're done. Now this is the difference of two perfect cubes. So if you think about this, remember how it said a to the third minus b to the third? Well, we have that number there again. So we know a is w minus, well, the cube root. So another way to do cube root in your calculator is you can hit 27 to the exponent and then in parentheses 1 divided by 3. Okay? But it's 3. So we have this. So a is w, b is 3. So you have w minus 3 times a squared plus a times b plus b squared. And there it is. That second piece will never be able to be factored when you're using these, okay? Alright, factor by grouping. For some polynomials, you can factor by grouping. See what they do up here? They group the first two and the second two together, and they factor out what's in common. These both had R, these both had S. See how these are formed here? Here's the thing. Notice how this is always a plus. That's what it needs to be. So the first thing I need to do with this first problem here is instead of minus 9x, change it to plus negative 9x minus 63. Group the first two and the last two. What can I factor out? X squared. I'm left with x plus 7. What can I factor out of here? Negative 9. X plus 7. See how we got these to match? So what do? You take the outside. Factor out the inside. But this can still be factored. What can multiply negative 9 and add to 0? X plus 3, x minus 3. So there is that one, completely factored by grouping. Okay? So there's another way. So now we just got to do it, guys. Factor them completely. I don't see 4 terms anywhere, so I'm not going to think grouping. But let's see here. Alright, that looks weird because it's the 16x to the 4th minus 625. But x to the 4th can be made by x squared, and 16 is a perfect square. Let's see if 625 is. Square root of 6, yep, 25. So this would be 4x squared minus 25. 4x squared plus 25. Now there's nothing that can multiply to positive 25 and add to 0. But how about, or 100 and add to 0. But how about negative 100 and add to 0? Yeah. 2x minus 5, 2x plus 5. So these are all factored now. Now let's see. I can do 4t squared out of this one. And that would be t to the 4th minus 5t squared plus 6. If you need to, just think about this one up here as t squared minus 5t plus 6. And watch what will happen here. So what multiplies a positive 6 and adds a negative 5? Negative 3 and 2. So if you think about what we were doing for that top one, we would say t minus 3, t minus 2. But here's the thing, instead of being t squared, it's t to the 4th. So you got to make this squared and squared. So it's t squared minus 3, t squared minus 2, and we have 4t squared. Nothing multiplies negative 3 and adds to 0, nothing multiplies negative 2 and adds to 0, so you are done. Okay? Alright, let's see what's next. So is this really any different? No, you still have to factor, but then after you factor, you set each factor equal to 0 and solve it. Okay? So, I'm going to do the first one. Actually, I'm going to do the one in the middle here, and then leave 8 and 10 for you to do at home. Okay? So I would subtract. Subtract. Now watch what we do here. 2x to the 5th minus 14x to the 3rd. See how I wrote them from highest degree to lowest degree, standard form? I can factor out 2x. So I get x to the 4th minus 7x squared plus 12. what multiplies to 12 and adds to negative 7. So I get x squared minus 4, x squared minus 3. Because remember, when it's x to the fourth and x squared in the middle, it's just, instead of being x and x, it's x squared, okay? And then this first one will multiplies negative 4 and adds to 0, x plus 2, x minus 2. So now what do we got to do? Set each factor equal to 0. So 2x equals 0, so x equals 0, because divide by 2. X plus 2 equals 0. Subtract the 2, x equals negative 2. X minus 2 equals 0. Add the 2, x equals 2. X squared minus 3 equals 0. Add the 3. Square root. So you get x equals plus or minus the square root of 3. So final answer here. X equals negative 2, comma 0, comma, oh, forgot one. Least to greatest is how you should always list them. Negative square root 3, comma 0, comma square root 3, comma 2. So bring the other two problems in completed tomorrow. I'm going to check. I'll see you then.